Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Hope it's fantastic. Everything here is really good. And I have a topic today, something I haven't done in a while. The topic inspired by our friend Jonathan, who commented last week. I did a video talking about just not having any creative energy lately and not understanding that because it's something that has always driven me is to be creative. I've just always, or I shouldn't say I've always, but my entire life I've been driven by creativity. I've been that being creative is what makes me happy, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean being an artist or being a musician or just finding solutions. That to me is being creative, right? Finding identifying ways that I can apply myself to provide benefit to either myself or others, whether it is a visual creation or a mechanical creation or a new tool or whatever, like that's being creative to me. And that's the stuff that's always driven me. I'm not driven by money. I'm not driven by fame. I'm not driven by quote unquote success or promotions or whatever. I'm driven by having an impact, whatever that impact is. And to me, that's the creativity that drives me, is I'm always looking for that impact. And so often when I'm not finding that impact in my daily life, whether it's my job or my relationship or where, if I'm not finding that impact there, I get this intense internal pressure to create something that will provide value. And a lot of my projects, including this one, you know, started that way. They started because I felt I got to do something. I'm just not being valuable right now, and I need to provide value. That's my thing, right? So last week I did a video about waning creativity because lately I haven't really done anything creative. I finished the train game, that's done, locked away. I've played some video games since then. I've been sick. I've been working at my job. I've been working at my side job. To be honest, I haven't been working at the side job very much. I've actually, the last 2 weeks, I've put in maybe 3 hours. I just haven't had the energy for even it. And I kind of feel like a failure at it right now. So I'm going to call up the project owner today and talk to him a little bit because he always helps me figure out what's next, right? I'm not mentally in the right space for it for some reason, and I think that's all comes down to burnout. And that comes back to Jonathan's comment. I didn't take notes on it exactly what he said, but he said something to the gist of, with all of the energy that I'm expending at my jobs, maybe burnout is a small blessing. Meaning that if I had creative energy right now, would I even have time to spend it? Is there time in my life to devote to that? I mean, there is. To answer that question bluntly, sure. I could completely forego my relationships with my children and with M and my parents and just focus on me. But I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. So is the burnout a bad thing? And I don't think it is. I think he's right, and I think he's right not just in my particular situation right now, but as a whole. I think that burnout is, as an American, it is seen as this negative thing. It's seen as like, oh, I'm so used to this high production environment that I've set up for myself that when my production dips, suddenly that I'm a waste. I'm burned out. I can't do it. And it starts to become this negative feedback loop that I don't think I don't think burnout is a bad thing. I think burnout is just take it easy, right? This isn't a marathon, or this isn't a sprint. You're not racing to the finish line. Hopefully, as a human who's only going to be on this planet for 70, 80 years, hopefully you're not sprinting to the finish. You don't have that much time. Just take it easy. Like, you'll get there, right? There's no reason to run to the end, right? And I think that burnout is a reminder of that. Now, that being said, I also don't think burnout is as for me, it's not as emotionally or thankfully in my personal situation financially devastating as some people, as it seems to be for others. There's a lot of YouTubers, people who went through 2020 and being like, man, I just can't do this. Like, I'm just burned out. I'm just done. And to me, that signals that either they weren't receiving evaluation for what it was they were doing that they had expected, like they had put more in than they were getting back, and or they were up against a wall creatively and couldn't push through. And I think that burnout in either of those situations is not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing to step back. It's a good thing to, whenever you have a creative endeavor, whether it's a painting or it's a movie idea or a script or a book or doing YouTube videos, I think that it's often a really good advice to walk away for a while. Authors talk about it a lot. They'll write a book, they'll put it on the shelf for 6 months, then they'll come back and do the rewrite. I think that's really important for everything. I think it's really important for content creation of any kind. Making furniture, making videos, writing songs, whatever. You have to have those down moments. I think those let you kind of reevaluate what's important to you about what you love. It's important. It helps you reevaluate the successes that you've held, because sometimes you forget about those successes because you're so focused on, well, the stuff that I've been doing lately isn't performing as well as I had expected, and so that must mean I'm a failure. No, that just means that, right now isn't the best time for you, so take a little break, reflect, look back on what you have accomplished, and proceed to, use that to fuel the fire forward. Now, you can't walk away forever. Like, that's just irresponsible. And I think that, in particular with creativity, there is no magic, like, wait for the moment. I think that it's much like having a child. If you're waiting until you're ready, you're never going to have that kid, right? And I think creativity works the same way. It has to be something that you choose to do. You have to say, I'm going to sit down and do a thing and accomplish that. And I personally struggle very, very hard with that. I struggle a lot. I hit that wall all the time. Very, very rarely am I able to push through that wall and complete a creative project. It's not often. But when it happens, it's always great. It's always a wonderful feeling. And what I have found for me, that, even though I'm not completing things, or I'm not completing things to the degree that I would like to complete them. Say, I'm gonna make a thing. I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna make a cutting board, and then I'm gonna make 5 more and try to sell them. And I will make that first cutting board and think, this isn't a product that I feel comfortable selling because it's not the quality that I expected it to turn out to be, and so I don't sell those other 4 products, or I don't even make the other 4, or the other 5, or whatever. Is that a failure? Absolutely not. I think that the getting started, taking that step of going, all right, let's just start, let's just do the thing, that is the real takeaway. Like, because learning how to start is the skill. That's an actual thing that you need to learn to do. It's not something that everybody just does. You have to learn to be you have to be willing to take that first step, and knowing that the outcome might not be what you expected, taking the step anyway. And often I will find with creative endeavors that whatever that step is, writing that first sentence, gluing the first piece of wood together, drawing the first couple of lines, whatever it is, that almost always turns on something. And out of that session, I find myself glad that I started and more inclined to continue, as opposed to just sit and ruminate. So I don't think burnout is a bad thing, especially in this particular situation. I don't have the energy for anything right now. I'm barely having the energy for doing my jobs. What have you been up to lately? Did you have a good weekend? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know sounds smart is Outre. 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 Adjective. Radically unconventional, outside the limits of expected conduct or behavior. One of life's intriguing paradoxes is that hierarchical social order makes cheap rents and outre artists colonies possible. Florence King, an American author. Outre. O-U-T-R-E. That's another one of those fun French words I've never heard before and will never use again.